Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
Hi, I'm Jessica Faust.
We are literary agents at BookEnds who have taken our popular blog to YouTube to discuss all things publishing. And today we're talking about following up. So we have 5 tips for you that we think are really good tips on how to follow up with an agent. So when you're querying, you are bound to run into an agent who maybe hasn't responded to you yet, and you need to send a friendly nudge along too. So we have a quick and easy guide. Like I said, 5 tips on when, how, and why to follow up.
Yep.
Why you should follow up. That wasn't good English. Okay, so my best tip, I tell this tip every time I talk anywhere. I don't know that enough people do it. You have to have an airtight tracking system.
Yep.
You need to have some place where you are listing who you've sent the queries to, how you've sent the queries to them, and when you've sent those queries. If you don't have those 3 basic things, you are bound to lose track of who has your book, double up on queries, send to 2 agents at the same agency. No bueno.
And we know this because
it happens.
Tracking this stuff is our job.
Oh, yeah, we do. How many times have you sent the same submission to an agent like, oh, I forgot, an editor, because I forgot to put them on the, it happens. That's why if you are constantly referring back to this Excel spreadsheet, Airtable, Word doc, whatever you want to use.
And I think Query Tracker, doesn't Query Tracker have a paid way? I think Query Tracker, if you pay for Query Tracker, they have a whole system that you can track too.
I'm pretty sure. And then you can go in and see the comments for the agents and all of that. But the tracking system is your first step to even thinking about following up. Because if you don't have that tracking system in place, who are you following up to, when, and why?
Yep.
The next thing is you have to know the agent that you're querying to's response guidelines. So typically,
put it on your tracking system.
Put it on your track right next to agent, agency, query manager, email, then put response guidelines.
Yep.
Every agent, hopefully every agent, will list on their website how long it takes for them to read their query letters and how long it takes them to read their submissions. Those are 2 different things in our head. Query letters is when you send the letter and we are just reading that. Submission is when we request to see more of your work. And then I know that the 2 of us picture it as 2 different processes. And
yeah.
So,
and I would say, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't, sorry.
So we can clap that one. We're going to take that out.
I must have shot the audio up. Anyway, I would say that if an agent doesn't list their time frame and their guidelines, look at your tracking system and see what the average is, or even better, the latest dates that people have, and just put that there for that agent. Just assume that if you are 8 to 12 weeks and I'm 12 to 16 weeks, for anybody who doesn't have it listed, just
12 to 16 8 weeks. You're just saying numbers.
Anyway, just put whatever random numbers down that you want.
You pick. It's your world. We're just living in it. But also, you should mark down, in addition to those timelines, you should also mark down whether that agent is a no response means no. So there are some agents, not BookEnds, we do not like this practice, and maybe we should do a video on why we don't like this practice. Good old-fashioned rant, if you will. But they will say, if I don't get back to you in X amount of time, consider it a pass.
Yeah, and if they don't give X amount of time, because I think some don't, I think they just say no response means no, then you decide. How long are you willing?
16, 8 weeks, and
that's what I would do. I would just take an average. I will give you that much time. If I haven't heard from you, I am marking that down as a rejection. You need to take control of that rather than sort of hopefully waiting. Maybe next week is the week. If they get back to you, great. You can uncheck the rejection box.
Yeah.
But it's better, I think, to be able to feel like you have some sense of control rather than being in limbo.
Yeah, and also the reason why we're saying to market if there are no means no is because if they are no means no, there's no reason to follow up. If you don't hear from them, that's your answer.
Yep.
Which
I also think from a mental health standpoint,
it's
good to feel like, you've gotten that closure somehow.
Yeah, it's not healthy to sit there and just like stare at the same 15 agents who they're clearly not responding to you. Which is rude. But I'm gonna keep throwing snark about that. So our 3rd tip, write a form letter. I think with anything really, we want to automate our processes as much as possible. And if
Yeah.
you have that form letter where you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you have to send one, you just have to plop in the agent's name and plop in the date that you sent the query letter. I think that will take all of the guesswork out of this. It's already done. You just copy, paste, plug it in, send.
You can
That's
make it an email signature.
You could make it
Although
an
you
email.
probably want it, yeah, do it on the email you sent, so it all goes in the same file, but make it a signature in your email, which is the follow-up signature that just says, hi, it's been blah, blah weeks, just
And
checking
for
in.
Query Manager, you will have to copy and paste it into the little portal website they give you, I think.
Well, I was going to ask about that. So Query Manager, when you send a query, you can get status updates, which just says this is still under consideration. So I actually don't know if you need to follow up on Query Manager, because I believe that there is a way to get status updates where you can just go and look and it still says under submission or it's been passed on
You can.
if you missed the email.
You can. I think I disagree that you don't need to send the follow-up, because I do think a follow-up isn't just a function of are you still considering it, but I also think it is a gentle, like, can you get me a
True.
response? So I would say still follow up personally.
Yeah, give them the nudge.
Sometimes, yeah, give them the nudge. Sometimes Query Manager might even like hide things in all the different selections. So I would say just send it.
Yeah.
And that leads into our next one. Be kind. And I think if you're kind, most agents will be all right with a follow-up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our fourth tip, obviously, be kind. We don't want to be behind on our query letters. I'm sure on our videos or our blog, we've said before that queries sometimes have to be our last priority. Our clients are our first priority. We
Yeah.
always want to get back to our queries. We want to find that next thing. We want to get back to you, but sometimes our workloads get us more behind than we'd like. So a mean nudge is not gonna get you anywhere.
Yeah. And don't do well, I'm sure since I haven't heard it's a pass, but don't do the passive aggressive thing, because then it will be a pass.
Oh, certainly will be a pass.
Just really like,
Well, that tells me something.
you don't even have to acknowledge how busy I am. You're busy too. We're all busy. Just
Yeah.
say, hey, just following up on this. Also, I want to do the timeline thing quick.
Yeah.
I would always wait 2 weeks past the given timeline, because it's so frustrating to me when it crosses and I am just about to respond and I get the nudge, because now I feel like you think the nudge caused me to reject, but the truth is I am just within my timelines. That's how much it takes me, and I'm usually pretty good about that. So I would give a little grace period to the agent.
Yeah.
Just,
I agree.
I don't know why, because it's always so weird to me, but it happens a lot where I might have read all weekend, the nudge comes in on Monday, and I'm like, oh great, that's on my list of things I was going to respond
I agree. I think that's fair, especially help us absolve our guilt. But I also think what could be a really great tool, Airtable and Excel, you can do the formulas where it can set the date for you, right? So you can do, if I submitted on, what is even today's date? If I submitted on September 15th, I need to nudge in 12 weeks. Well, that's December. Well, you know what? I'll nudge January 15th. Like, you can set those dates for you so that you have that little checklist that you can just customize your tracking sheet, because you should have a tracking sheet. In case you didn't know, we told you should have a tracking sheet, and then make it work for you.
Yep.
Okay, and our last tip is don't send a ton of follow-ups. So I know that this is going to be a hard one to swallow for a lot of authors. Be like, well, you didn't get back to us, so what am I supposed to do? But I think if an agent is not responding to your query, as we mentioned earlier, kind of give yourself the closure. You sent the follow-up, you haven't heard back. Maybe mark it as a pass.
I actually think you have one follow-up, and if the agent still hasn't responded, the only way you're going to get them to respond is let them know you have an offer. That's it. So you get one follow-up, you get the offer notification. If the offer notification doesn't happen, then you just mark it as a pass when you decide to close out your book and you're now querying your next book.
Yeah.
So I think rather than following up repeatedly, you just that's your system. And I think having a system and a plan like that does give a huge sense of control to you. And I think that's really important. And we have done videos on how to handle an offer of representation and how to work that with other agents. So we do have that in there.
And that is to say, like, even if you mentally give yourself that mark that it's a pass, if an agent, like agents at Bookends or at an agency where we do respond to every query, you may still get an email.
Oh, totally.
I would still expect one, but I think in your head, it's like kind of moving it to that backlog so I don't have to actively do work. You've sent your follow-up, and I think the agent will get back to you if that's their policy. And if it's not their explicit policy, then personally, I would just mark it as a pass and
I
move
agree.
on.
I agree. And I think a lot of our advice isn't just like the logistics of handling this, but it's also how to handle it from a mental health perspective, because it is a struggle sometimes and it can really get in your head. And I feel that by having a system and a plan like this and dates that work for you, you have control of, sure, the rejection still hurts, but at least you don't have that sort of false hope because you don't know what to do and you feel in limbo. And I think the point is we don't want you to feel in limbo as much as possible.
Well, I also think there's that anxiety of seeing the number too, right? Like if you have 15 queries out, 5 of those people aren't answering you, and you're like, I really want to get more queries out, but I already have 15. If I send out 10 more, I'm gonna have 25, and then how am I gonna have so many queries out? But if you say those 5 people just aren't answering me, move them to my back burner. Well, now I have 10. I can definitely handle 20. So let me go
Totally.
out with another 10 more. I think it helps you keep that forward momentum, which in querying is a very hard thing to gain control of and keep. So I think giving yourself the permission to do that is totally fine.
Yep.
Doesn't mean if you don't get an offer, you can't go back to them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we have a bonus tip, and this is actually our policy at Bookends, which is why I think I wanted to suggest it. But
Yeah.
if you are querying an agent who is just non-responsive, but they're at an agency where you'd like to query another agent, I think it is worth considering whether you want to try someone else and whether you should withdraw that query to try someone else. Most agencies, will have that policy where you can only submit to one team member at a time. That's just so that there's no in-house fighting. Nobody wants to do that if they both love a book. But if you're not getting the answer in a timeline that you feel you deserve and there's another possibility, I support going to that other possibility. I think that it is also our job to stay on top of our queries, to get you responses and to find the next best thing. And I mean, I think it's something worth considering if you're not getting that response, that you have to do what's best for your book and go to the next person.
And to be honest, you can withdraw it. And if the second agent passes, you could go back and resubmit to the first.
Yeah,
there's no rule that says you can't.
No, I'd probably be vague and nice about the withdrawal if that's just me, but I think it's only right, really.
Yeah, I agree.
So those are our 6 actually tips on how to follow up with an agent. We hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video to it. Do you see what I did there? I think you didn't appreciate it. It's totally fine.
My dog is whining. I was distracted.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you back here next time.
Time to end it for the day.
I think so.
Bye.
Bye.